COVID so far. 5 people had died. Now the numbers have nearly tripled. That's since you were there giving the message. What are we to take away from that?
I was really worried. I know as a physician, you're a physician, when we're out, we're looking at people and we're worried about them. I mean, we're worried about people with comorbidities, and we know how devastating this disease is for people that have specific comorbidities. And so when I'm out and seeing them without masks indoors, it really worries me. I mean, I'm worried for their health.
I sometimes have a hard time, Ambassador, figuring out how to represent how we've done in this country. 250,000 people have died. You can compare it to other countries. South Korea, 500 people have died. Was this a failure in this country? I mean, did you expect it to go this way?
I always worry when we have an outcome that none of us want and none of us wanted. You know, did we miss a communication? Did we say it the wrong way? And I think really that's part of the reason why I went out into the States, is really understand what they were hearing when we were speaking, and really being in a dialogue and a partnership to really understand how we could do this better together.
Was the lack of testing and the continued inadequate testing the original sin here?
It's not only the number of tests and the type of test, but using them in the optimal way so that we can get the most answers for the quantity that we have. Certainly, I'm a big proponent of testing and expanding testing. I actually think testing alone is a public health intervention. And if you constantly are testing people and isolating the positives, then you have a very different outcome. If you look at the universities that had mandatory testing, they ended up with less than 1% of their student body infected. The ones that did testing the way we were doing it in America, primarily focused on symptomatics, contact tracing, isolating, and quarantining, they had 8 to 10% of their student body infected.
Was there ever a strategic decision not to test as much?
I think that was not a strategic decision not to test. There was a strategic decision to test more until a particular time frame in the late summer, when you saw the CDC guidance change to symptomatic testing. And I can't tell you how strongly I believe that symptomatic testing and contact tracing is less than half of the equation. And unless you get the other half of the equation, you're not going to stop community spread. And so that did put a pale on testing for a number of weeks.
Sanjay, so interesting to hear from her directly. That is really valuable. And your questions were so good, Sanjay. I mean, when you say, was this, did we fail? I mean, I think that is obviously the overarching question. And she says that she worries, did we get the messaging wrong? Well, President Trump said it was magically going to go away. Was that the wrong message?
Right. No question. And she's so measured and she's so careful. She's been doing this for a long time, but she was pretty candid. As you sort of heard there around that, not coming right out and saying that, but essentially that was the inference she was making. And also on testing. I mean, we talked about this. You guys may remember end of summer. These real sort of lines that were being drawn between the task force, CDC. Not everyone was on the same page. I asked her, was there a strategic lack of testing? Was that a strategic decision? And she says no, but CDC then came out and said only symptomatic people should be tested. That was a mistake, essentially. She said, look, this is obviously, some of this is in the rearview mirror now, but it still makes a difference, because if you try to analyze and figure out why are we in the position that we're in now? Why do the numbers keep going up? Why does IHME, the modeling, now increase the numbers of people who they project will die by March 1st? Why is that still going up? It's because of decisions that were made over the summer. And these are going to be important conversations, I think, to have going forward, because they're going to inform still the next few months.